Hello and welcome, I'm High C, and this is the Katchup, where I catch up on series and give you my first impressions. Returning with Kamen Rider Build, episodes 11 through 16. This is a reminder that Katchup videos will include spoilers, and especially for Build, so fair warning, spoilers are ahead. Major spoilers. If you want to watch Build, I suggest not watching this video. If you've already watched Build and you want to know how I'm feeling about it this far, please keep watching. But before you go, if you want the short version, Build is excellent, please go and watch it. It makes doing these videos extremely hard because it's really hard to criticize Build because I don't have a lot to complain about. I feel like I should have some more negative things to say, but honestly, I freaking love Build. So if you're on the fence of watching it, please just go and give it a chance. But everybody else, you've been warned, spoilers ahead, stop watching now. So when I did the last video, I was struggling a little bit with format. I didn't want Katchup videos to compete with Toku-Rev videos. But now that's all out the window, since from this point forward is nothing I would include in a Toku-Rev episode. This isn't how I plan future formats to go, but for Build, since every episode has so many just bombshells dropped on you, I'm going to have to do episode by episode and just highlight major events and how I was feeling at the time. First off, I didn't talk at length in the last video about Sawa, Misora, or the owner Soichi. At first I kind of felt like they were supporting characters, but now I realize there's not really any useless characters in Build. Everybody has a major plot purpose at some point or another. And that's one of the many high points of Build, which is it subverts expectations. Characters that would be one note and just your comic relief character who's just kind of there to serve slight narrative purposes, but kind of just exist to be chuckled at, all have really emotional real moments or dramatic character arcs. They can all be catalysts and flip the story upside down and change the path of the show. I'm a little unclear over if Misora is Soichi's daughter or if that's kind of like an adoptive I rescue you daughter situation, but their relationship is probably the hardest to watch on an emotional level. Sawa, the reporter character, is alright, but she felt like a supporting character and she didn't really have a lot of oomph until around episode 9, you start kind of really seeing where she lies inside of this full scope of the show. But hey, now she's a spy and she's been flipping everything around on Sento Banjo this whole time. If I have to criticize that, I would say she also kind of disappears after that plays itself out in the first couple episodes from 10 to 12. So let's take a look at episode 11. Now, if I was to look at Build episodes 1 through 16 as a traditional movie 5-act structure, episode 11 puts us smack dab right in the middle of the third act. Sento is down and out without the ability to transform or his full bottles. Banjo still thirsts for power, but it's for all the wrong reasons. The Key Dragon Henshin can keep them alive, but not without great damage to Sento, leaving all the stacked cards falling on top of our heroes. We now see how far our reporter's deception has gone and that she is working for everyone who's out to militarize the rider system. I had categorized her as a supporting character, so I was personally surprised when it came to show that she was actually a spy this whole time. Bloodstock and Jintoku's relationship is just coming to a head, and at every turn, you're just guessing which side Bloodstock's on at this point. Keeping Jintoku away from Sento so that he can perform his own secret plans on the side. We have Sawa turn into a smash and Sento's pretty much powerless to stop it. But finally we have Banjo transforming into our second rider as he transforms into Cross Z Dragon. I love Cross Z, but more importantly I love all of the character interactions that have led Banjo to the point where he can transform into Cross Z. Finally able to focus all the anger for everything he lost into something pure. And Cross Z Dragon's suit design just works for me. It really helps emphasize Banjo's fiery personality. I also love the gimmick of his sword with the pump up and VU meter on it. It all kind of works with me and my background in audio engineering. Jumping to episode 12. Sawa is now exposed and you're left to wonder how far is her deception going, but does that make her a bad person? And what's her motivation for doing so? When it comes to defense, Sento's now in a role reversal situation from what he's always found himself in with Banjo, now having to totally rely on Banjo's Cross Z form in order to fight through battles. This makes for a really good offset and role reversal of the two. I really wish this lingered for a little more in another episode or two, but it's unfortunately a little short-lived. And then you have Night Rogue and Bloodstock's partnership completely over. Bloodstock is just too much of a wild card to depend on for anything. Sawa is now getting surrounded and betrayed by her spy, so now she's double-crossed on her own. And it's the first time you've ever seen her do anything action-oriented and kind of saves herself by jumping out a window, since she's pretty much been set up as like a damsel in distress role, but with a little bit of attitude. So it's kind of nice to have her break out of what I was thinking was going to be her role as support, but also kind of like person to save. So seeing her dive out a window is a really refreshing change for her. We have another really refreshing moment when Atsumi, who's Jintoku's assistant, sacrifices himself and his identity as Night Rogue, ultimately being killed by the mentor that he was protecting, Jintoku. Up until this point, we haven't had a lot of personal time with Atsumi, but episode 12 does a really good job at building up his character so you don't just feel like he's a blind follower. He cares about the sacrifice he's making, and he believes it's for the greater good, even if it's going to bring shame, giving his death a ultimate sense of weight and purpose. Cutting back to a scene of everybody sitting at the cafe and Sawa asking for forgiveness. It's maybe one of my favorite sequences just because the way it's been framed and shot. It's just an empty cafe, far shot, with everybody sitting in it. It starts to drill up a family vibe as everybody comes to accept and forgive her for what she's done. This scene gives it a second breath, like this is the family that we've created. It's come out of tragedy and betrayal and trauma. But inside of that, there's a sense of forgiveness and security. This is the family they've chosen. In the end, this is the only group of people who understands what everybody else is going through. The sequence is a visual sigh of relief as we turn the page because there's new mysteries to solve. Episode 13. Now, with the leader of the country dead, Jintoku is in charge, making him available to develop the rider system. There's been a lot of sacrifice and hard work for him to make it to this moment, only to turn out that he's just been played the fool as Bloodstock's hand this entire time. Wanting to take care of Bloodstock and gain the upper hand, Jintoku tips off Sento. Night Rogue and Bloodstock fighting in the woods has been maybe my favorite action fight so far, and a show that has had nothing but amazing action sequences. Sento and Banjo join in and overpower Bloodstock, Sento using his new form of octopus light. Heading home, Sento meets up with Mizura, who's visually upset. They both know there's only one reason Sento could have won that fight, revealing that the owner Soichi has been betraying them this entire time. For Sento, that means the man who's given him refuge and purpose has been Bloodstock this entire time. Now, a few episodes earlier, I had seen this happening and guessed it, and then completely talked myself out of it. So it felt like the perfect turn, echoing the sequence in the last episode, which gave the viewers and characters a sense of security and that feeling of home inside of this makeshift family. Episode 14. Sento discovering Bloodstock's identity changes everything and gives it all so much weight. Has there been any truth to everything we've experienced so far, or has it all been an illusion? I felt the betrayal on a personal level as a viewer. Sento and Banjo not wanting to tell anything to Mizura, but you can feel she already knows. Because Sento can't stand the thought of breaking her heart the way his has already been broken. And he knows if he speaks that out loud, that's what's going to happen. The only truth that Sento's known is fighting for people and fighting for justice is worth all the sacrifices in the end. But how is he going to keep that in focus when the ideals that he's been instilled with have really only been placed there in order to hurt people? Leading to a showdown with Bloodstock and Sento. This entire fight is emotional. Every hit Build takes, he reflects on all the moments he's had with Soichi. This was his mentor, the owner, the person who helped him find purpose inside of nothing, how to make sense out of chaos. He represents family. You feel Sento's heartbreak as he stands there as Build, Bloodstock's creation, and accepts Bloodstock's final blows. I don't really know what to say. I find this really powerful. Build does a great job of making you feel what these characters are going through. At the end of the day, I know this is a children's show and it's made to sell toys, but there's something real here. With a morally and physically defeated Sento, Bloodstock's ready to kill him. And then Banjo jumps in. Up until this point, Banjo has struggled to find his place as a Kamen Rider, to fight for a cause and not for his anger. And there is no better moment to punctuate that than this. Banjo is fighting with all of that same fiery anger. But this time it's not for himself. He's fighting because his friends are hurt. Or more importantly, his family's hurt. Episode 15. Sento is mocking Jintoku with Pandora's box, trying to bring Night Rogue out into the open, but of course Banjo charges in and takes a swing at Jintoku. So far, Jintoku's always felt like a threat when in the Night Rogue suit, but always carried a sense of poise when untransformed. It's a really quick scene, but it really stands out to me when he dodges all of Banjo's punches. When it comes to fights in Build, there's always purpose. I've lost count of how many times Build, Cross Z, Night Rogue, and Bloodstalk have all fought in one configuration or another, but I've never gotten bored of them. They've always had a real sense to bring it back together. Like, there's a reason they're fighting in that moment. Soichi returns back to the lab and talks to Mizora. In all of Build, this has been the hardest scene to take in. She continues to play the part of being oblivious, knowing this is probably the last time she's going to get to talk to her father as her father. It really rips your heart out with Soichi leaving with his ciao, that carefree way they've always said goodbye. This is the last time she'll get that carefree moment with him. Her father is gone. Nothing will ever be as it was. Bringing us back to Night Rogue Battle Part 2, as he's knocked down with a sparkling kick. Just in time for Jintoku's father to return to take the country back. But just like I was thinking back when Sento tasted Katsuragi's mother's cooking, Jintoku drops the bomb on Sento, and he's actually been Katsuragi. Just like the situation with the owner being Bloodstalk, I completely convinced myself that this wasn't what was going to happen. And that might not be the case, because every episode of Build has been a roller coaster ride of blindsides. But wow, Sento, the demon scientist. Episode 16. This is the logical place to end this series of impression videos. This show is so good at keeping you in suspense and untrust. You never know what you're allowed to believe. It goes out of its way to dispel red herrings, just to take you and smack you later. We're finally given Sento's backstory in detail, and I was right with a lot of my assumptions. Sento was a punk rocker who showed up to test some new drugs, most likely a trap to be part of experiments. But that Sento was killed and given Katsuragi's face, had his memories wiped, and manipulated into becoming Build, leaving our current day Sento with no sense of identity. He hates the man he is, and the man that he discovered himself to be was nothing but a manufactured lie. Again, if I'm to believe that that's the truth behind Sento's origins. Maybe it turns out he's not actually Katsuragi, but I'm going to believe yes for now. Banjo, the man who wanted justice for his dead lover and the people who are behind the smash, turns out is the guy he's chosen to look at as a brother. He's angry, he doesn't know how to feel. Sento can't begin to process what's happened. Mizora is stuck right between the two, and the little bit of family she has left is being ripped further and further apart from her. Banjo demands a fight with Sento because it's really the only truth he knows. So Sento gives him what he wants, but he barely fights back, reflecting on all of the stepping stones it's taken him to get to this moment, giving in to his ultimate weapon, turning into Sparkling and doing a rider kick, destroying Banjo, and then wanders off by himself to get lost in his misery and lack of direction, only to see a crowd of people running away from new Smash monsters. He jumps immediately into action because that's the man he is now, the guy who jumps into action. But now with Banjo. He's the hope, he's the justice, he's the Kamen Rider. Meanwhile, Bloodstalk's assassinated the head of the country. Jintoku is left in charge of the country once more. And a new showdown's about to begin, the War of the Three Countries, the War of the Rider System. And there we are. That's the perfect bookend of this arc of this story. My original plan for these videos was not to do a scene for scene or episode for episode recap, but the way everything just changes, it makes it really hard not to just talk about it all, because there's so many emotions that you go through and roller coaster rides that you go on. I start to feel kind of dumb because I can't really do anything but gush about this show. There's a few critiques here or there, but God, they're such nitpicks in the overall enjoyable experience I'm having with Build. If I take a big step back, I realize it's a karate scientist fighting a bootleg Batman. But I don't care. Build is amazing. The character relationships and mystery are honestly what has kept me so intensely invested so far. There's so much going on and it is so densely packed together. I'm mad at myself for not watching this series sooner. At the end of episode 16, you have a couple of very brief introductions for what I assume will be our next antagonists. But I'm excited to see where this show goes, and I honestly just can't wait to watch more. I had to stop myself once I got to the end of episode 16 from starting episode 17 because I just wanted to see what happened, but I didn't want it to affect what I said in one of these videos. This story has me extremely deeply rooted, and I can't wait to do another catch-up video once I get to episodes whatever to whatever, because it's really hard to pick numbers because this show is so packed full of stuff. But thanks for watching. I'm High C, and this was the Catch-Up. And hopefully Build will keep me guessing in the episodes to come. I hope you come back and join me.